Hub family, welcome to another special edition of the Hub, all things for us with me, of course, your boy Damon Reynolds. And listen, I'm excited for this next episode because we get an opportunity to go back, to bring somebody back on this platform who really is a huge part of the reason why something like this even exists. But if you don't remember in episode 2, I brought you an amazing guest, somebody who was full of knowledge, full of wisdom, and who also lives in the motherland in Nairobi, Kenya. And of course, if you don't remember, I shared with you guys just about how impactful that time was. But also, if you don't recall, when my wife and I traveled there this past summer, we actually encountered some civil unrest with the citizens and the government. And at this time, I don't even know if I actually shared in depth just the feeling that was felt when we arrived and kind of the things we went through. We didn't know if we would have to evacuate the city. I mean, police had shot and killed dozens and dozens of people right around that time. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, do we need to leave? Do we stay? Like we're in a whole nother country where we don't speak the language, where we don't know the laws like that. And so it was a pretty nerve-wracking time. But as I shared, as always, we were blessed and fortunate enough to be able to make it back home. But also, we learned a tremendous amount of knowledge and wisdom from that time period. So, this next guest, of course, Wango Alfred. If you don't remember episode 2, he's coming back on. He's going to drop some gems. He's going to give us an update on what has transpired since the protests. Obviously, it's now been a couple months. And so we get to hear about what has life been like since then, since things have kind of shifted. But also, he's going to talk to us about just what it means to live in Nairobi, what it means to be African, and also just the language and some of the things that he's doing and the work and the impactful just culture that exists in the motherland. So without further ado, family, I want you to go ahead and check out this next episode with Wango. See you soon. But ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to a good friend of mine, Wango Alfred. Welcome back to the platform, sir.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So listen, man, I had a great response from a lot of people. Just there were many who had more questions, many who wanted more updates, who were asking me about how things had persisted after the time with the protests. But before I even get into any of that, how have you been?
Bro, I've been good. I'm grateful. Things have been moving, which makes me really grateful. Still pushing the hustle in Nairobi. We're in good health and strength. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, man, I've been awesome. I've been awesome. I'm grateful. How about you on your end?
Hey man, me and the wife have been good. I've still been feeling sort of the overflow of what that time was like in the
Mm,
motherland and just so many memories. I actually so cool story is I had a chance to do a presentation with some of our youth. And so
yeah,
I ended up doing a little bit of a presentation just on my time and my wife's time in Kenya, just because they don't get exposed. And so
yeah.
we got an opportunity just to show them the beautifulness of the land, man, just everything that was going on. Of course, they had questions. They was like, yo, you was over there while there was a protest, bro? I'm like, it ain't no different than what you
Yeah,
see. We've had protests recently, matter of fact. So, but
yeah,
it's the devastation, man, though, I can't stress enough how much that time period has really been tattooed on my heart. So
yeah.
again, we appreciate you for what you did for us through touring us and being with us during that time.
Sure.
Yes. So Wango, I'll ask you, man, since that time sort of subsided, I won't say it's ended because it's going to be
Yeah,
a longer fight. What have
that is true.
things been like? Has there been any more protests? Has it kind of been quiet? Have things kind of shifted? What's been going on in Kenya?
Well, since then, the protest took a different direction. Not really people being on the streets, but I think it came with a whole wave where everyone realized that it's everyone's fight. It's no longer a generational fight where, well, it seemed like a Gen Z and probably a bit of millennials trying to get into all this protests, but now there's a shift in mindset where everyone realizes that we all feel in the same pinch. So you find that people across different generations have now really gotten into the cause, and now you do have a high level of people getting to ask for accountability from their leaders. Right now you're finding people being really involved whenever there are issues around the country. You find people are more aware in regards to civic education. People have realized the power that they have, and you can see people getting to question their MP, their members of parliament, all these leaders in the different levels. People are seeking, all accountability from them. A while back, there'd be a mindset where people would be like, okay, this is probably someone from our community, so they're probably doing what they're supposed to do. But you find that right now, people are looking beyond that. People are looking beyond, is it that this politician probably bribed people for people to vote him in? Now it's more of, we need accountability on every level. You find people using their phones, which has become a very powerful tool, and going down to the ground and showing that the government promised to do this, and this is that project that they launched a while back, some years back, and yet we see nothing has happened. So you find that people are more intentional to show these are the problems within the society. You people need to call out the leaders. You need to call out people who are supposed to do all this, including the government. And it's good that, people are taking, very deliberate steps. And it's more of people realizing that they do have the sovereignty, over all this leadership in the country. It's the leaders to work for the people. So it's been amazing. It's constantly taking, different shape. People are becoming active citizens, which is a good direction in this. Yeah.
Mm, mm. I like that last part that you said. People are becoming active citizens. So it makes you step out of this role of being, I guess, passive and kind of
Yes.
relaxed on things. So you mentioned you are making sure now that the leaders work for you guys, which really is a citizen in any country. Leadership is always supposed to be working on behalf of its citizens. So when you think of that, I guess, what are some of the things that the community is pushing on these leaders? Because not only were they trying to impose this high tax bill, but I mean, the word that I heard time and time again, and that's not just in Nairobi, Kenya, but also in going to South Africa, was corruption. And so how are people, I guess, enforcing like, hey, we want to see really good, true, and integral for leadership?
Well, first of all, I think all these different bodies that are independent from the government, for instance, the Law Society of Kenya, have become very integral in trying to push for, say, for instance, you have people who have been illegally arrested. You'll find them coming in and bailing people out. All these lawyers coming in and, coming in pro bono for all these people who've been arrested, say, during protests. You find that these are citizens actively showing up to maintain the rule of law. You're
Mm,
seeing people asking for forums, even with their leaders, and trying to push for public participation where people are actively calling out their leaders. So you see there are all these different steps whereby people are asking the government questions. Also, you find social media has become a very powerful tool where people can directly, talk to the leaders, and they're like, yo, what's happening here? You promised this. So already these are instances that we get to see play out in this whole situation. You're also seeing a lot of whistleblowers coming out and, shedding a light on a lot of, terrible things that are happening around, the country. So it's been amazing since all these deliberate steps happening. And in as much as probably we won't see changes happening right now, but definitely these are small steps that you probably won't see happening right now, but after some time looking back, you get to see the progress. The same way you go, you hit the gym. It's not that you'll realize that every day you're looking at the mirror, you won't really see you changing, but looking back, you're looking at the photos from a way back and you realize, okay, it's been a journey and definitely there's been progress. In as much as you don't see it every day, but eventually there'll be greater strides that will be have made. It's definitely a journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And of course, I want this time to also we'll dive into just a little more stuff that's not so much on this side of things, but this is important stuff. We've been over here on this side, man. I've been thinking heavily about you guys, and of course, I got a whole list of books which I'm going to get into in a minute because there was a book
Yeah,
that you
saying
recommended
them,
that I've
yeah.
been reading.
Yeah,
But in one of those books, yeah, Visions of Manhood, Visions of Black Manhood, it talked about this idea that for people in different countries, specifically people of African descent, it's always important that we stay in connection and in unity with the issues that we're experiencing. And so this is a global issue that we don't take for granted, including also, and I'm not sure if you've been following what's happening in Sudan, which hasn't necessarily been covered, but there's been issues. Yeah.
yeah. Yes, indeed, because you realize, including the UN Secretary General, made a statement and is like the situation is in Sudan is really terrible. You have people and kids dying of famine, but there's very little support, coming in. Say if you could compare with the situation in Ukraine, it's way terrible in Sudan, but I think the risk card also plays a role. That's why you're not seeing a lot of light being shed on what's happening in Sudan, but it's really
Mm,
terrible what's happening there. It's really sad.
it is, man. So I definitely I want to shift gears a little bit. And I actually wanted to because I've been reading it a lot. I don't know if you can remember this book by heaven, but I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna see if you can see this one. And
Oh
I've
yeah,
been checking this
recognizing
out.
the mind.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So man, this has been a really tough read for me too. Since I've come back, I've been really in a place of deconstruction. It's been for like the last year or two. I've just been looking at life and I'm saying, man, I've lived in colonized territory my whole life. And so
Yeah.
outside of colonization, what would I look like? You know what I mean? Like, and these are questions I'm having now. Even and so in this book, and I want you to say the author's name for me. So because I keep slaughtering it. How do you say the author's
Oh,
name?
let me teach you just a basic Kikuyu.
Okay.
So whenever you see the U with there's a symbol on top of it, it gets pronounced as O.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So there's the sound U without the symbol, then there's a sound O with that symbol.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Then the I at the end, the sound would be pronounced as E. So this is in say in a lot of African languages, you find the I will be pronounced as E.
E.
But
Okay.
now
E.
if it has a symbol, it pronounces A.
A. Okay.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
name becomes Ngoge.
Ngoge.
Yeah. So
Ngoge.
NG,
Okay.
yeah, the NG is pronounced as Ng. So Ngoge.
Ngoge. Okay.
Yeah,
Ngoge.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
Goge or Diongo.
Ngoge Wadiongo.
Exactly, Diongo.
Look at
So now
that.
since you have the apostrophe after NG, now that be pronounced as Nga. Nga. So Wathiongo.
Waktiongo.
Yeah,
Waktiongo. I get it right.
yeah.
So
Goge Wathiongo.
okay. Got
Yeah,
you, man. Well, look,
yeah.
this book has been extremely influential. And before I even ask you like basic questions, I'm not gonna go super deep, but you've been
Easy, easy.
exposed to this work, man. So what did this
Yeah.
work do for you, man? How did it impact you in reading this book?
Well, first of all, looking at the situation when Ngoge was really active in his writing, this was during, say, post-independence Kenya. And you realize at the time, in as much as most of these African countries had gotten their independence, you find that there was still a lot of influence by the colonialists within those countries. So you find most of the African leaders who took up these different independent states still had a sense of affiliation with the former colonial administration. So
Mm,
you find there are cases of impunity that were still present within the first governments that took up, different African states. And you have this writer who had gone through a lot of the formal education and He's also a young lecturer at the University of Nairobi. And at the time, he'd write a lot of books around, I'd say, calling out a lot of the injustices and the reactions that have been there with a lot of colonization, the way
Yeah.
neo-colonialism also comes into the questions. So he gets to interrogate such themes, and you find that he definitely got into trouble with the government of the day, and also at some point being in detention, and also being in exile as well. So it's the background of the writer also shows that being an enemy of the state that time means that you also tend to reveal a lot of truth at the time. So going through the book was very interesting because you're now looking at how the effects of colonization, on generations at the time, which was a very intentional erosion of culture, and how you find that it was very easy for a lot of people to take up the ways of the white man at the time and letting go of their culture. So Ngoge tends to show that, okay, you find that at times people would feel more pride in having a colonizer's name, yet they do not take pride in the name that they took up from their family. So it tends to, shed a light on all this and trying to show the African people that, you need to find your sense of identity before you get to lose it, and you become like a tree without its roots. Yeah, so it really
Wow.
dives into that. Yeah.
Man, I've read, and let me just say this too, as somebody who reads a lot, you read a lot, this is a tough read. Like I find myself having to really sit with one page because it's so much engrafted in the text, just so
Mm.
much depth in the text that I have to be like, man, this dude is peeling back. So one of the things that I underlined, and I keep looking back at it, it says our whole conception of ourselves as a people, individually and collectively, is based on those pictures and images which may or may not correctly correspond to the actual reality of the struggles with nature and nurture which produced them in the first place. So I've reflected on that, man, and self-concept and knowledge of self. And I'm like, dude, my knowledge of self and my concept has come from European standards in a lot of ways, and whether it's news, media, a lot of different things. And so, man, Wango, I think when we were discussing a lot of stuff in Kenya, I think you
Mm.
kept trying to highlight that. And even in some of your artwork, you were just saying how you're trying to maintain and do certain things. So, yeah, I think anything you got to say to that, or
Well, ideally, I feel as an artist within this context, as a storyteller, I feel it's important to use my work to show where I'm from, because if I get inspiration mainly from my identity, my environment, shed a light on it, there's a great sense of originality because this is where I'm from, and getting to tell the story of where I'm from is really important. And even getting to have conversations with other people who are also very keen to get a deeper understanding of themselves, give me a wider perspective on also how to approach my work, how to tell stories, how to educate, how to learn. It's been very vital to me, and yeah, that's why I'm also really passionate about telling the stories of where I'm from. Yeah.
wow, wow. Man, during our first conversation, we didn't dive into it. And as much as you feel comfortable, so one of the things that I guess people were asking, of course, Christianity, Muslim, Islamic religion is very heavily
Yeah.
populated in the States. And so
Yeah.
I would even ask traditionally, I guess, what did you grow up learning more? Or what did your family actually traditionally practice, if that's okay?
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in more of a Christian background.
Mhm.
And ideally that was me growing up. But now much later on, once you start looking more to understanding, different parts of your identity, you get to realize that there was a whole spirituality that existed even before the introduction of all these different religions, including Christianity and Islam. Christianity was introduced in Kenya as early as, say, the 1800s. You
Mm,
had Islam coming a bit earlier because of the Arab trade within the Kenyan, the East African coastline, ideally the African coastline next to the Indian Ocean. That's when Islam, got to be introduced around here. So you do realize that there's already a sense of spirituality that already existed within the communities where we are from. So it was more of also trying to understand, okay, how did that look like? What did it do to the people? How come it gave people a very strong sense of identity and community, which are probably things that we've seen over the time. We are kind of losing them. So it was more of trying, the river, trying to go back to the source to understand, okay, where does this river come from? Just also for it to understand, what does it carry? Where is it going? So it's also understanding how to also, consume all this religion that has come much later on. In as much as, yes, you're probably a Christian, you're probably Islam, but do you consume Islam like an Arab, or do you consume Christianity like a Jew? So it's more
mm,
understanding that you also need, in as much as, yes, you do have the free will, to take up different religions, but how do you consume them without losing a sense of identity, without
wow.
losing the things that roots you? So that's why it's
Mm,
important. You also need to see God in us, in as much as, yes, you decide that you're a Christian, or you're a Muslim, but whenever we picture God, we also need to see ourselves in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's vitally important. And I specifically want people to hear this part of the conversation because when I came and when we had conversations, and you weren't the only person, of course, we had conversations with, but
Yeah.
we think that everything we were taught was, true and right. And I'm
Mm.
not denying, whether it's Christianity or Islamic practice or whatever religion someone practices, that that's not right for someone's life or it's not right at all. But we only have had this experience, i.e., what this book kind of refers to, right? Outside of knowing our American selves, we didn't get to be connected to the traditions of our ancestors. And so for me, I want people to not only hear that, but to be exposed to the fact that, hey, I need to have a certain level of respect as it pertains to other cultures and practice. And specifically, I'm saying these are our people. And so we have to understand that there was a time and space where this
Mm.
didn't exist for our people. So I just something you said, being a part of the story, and I think you
Yes.
were
Yeah.
saying that, yeah, is super important. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So next thing I kind of wanted to talk about as well, man, is in our time together, a big part was understanding the history of Kenya. And I was also in another book I was reading. Fun fact that Kenya was scientifically, I guess, there was the earliest parts of human civilization was discovered in Kenya, which I had read
Yes.
in my book, which was crazy. I was like blown away, and this is after leaving there.
We actually
So,
do have a lot of prehistoric sites within Kenya and the larger East Africa. You find that very you find remnants of very dated back very early. You find these sites within East Africa, and there are different factors that could have contributed to that. Considering most of East Africa is a savanna, and there's definitely abundance of food around here. So
mm,
yes, you do find a lot of prehistoric sites within Kenya and traces of the
wow.
earliest signs of civilization.
Dude, that's wild. That's wild. I'm like, look, I said, God, but look, we must be special. This is divine timing. We showed up. We met the Maasai tribe. We got to spend time with
Yeah.
Wango. Then we learned this. I'm like, man, this is too much. But no, so this is another element of all of this was understanding um a lot of history and how
Yes.
that plays a huge part in how we identify ourselves. And one of the things I've run into here, Wango, is our youth and our kids are craving to know
Yeah.
about what's on your side. I did a
Mm.
presentation and I can't tell you how their faces lit up because they felt
Yeah.
like, in a way, we've been blocked from hearing or even seeing stuff like this. And so
Yeah.
Be encouraged, man. Like you helped me, you helped my wife. Like we are spreading
Sure.
that. We're telling
Yeah.
stories, we're sharing. So talk to me about the youth and even your growing up, but just talk
Mhm.
about the state of the youth in Kenya and just some of the things that they experience, whether challenges or also just what is growing up is a kid in Kenya look like in terms of what you
Yeah.
learned and how you find your self-worth.
Mm. Well, ideally for I'd say the average kid growing up around here, it's a lot of, you get introduced into this world, you get to grow in a home where there's a sense of community, and later on getting to join school, kindergarten, primary school, all through to secondary school. Some, get into college, university. Others decide, okay, let's get out and try seek a job or run a business. And definitely, there's a set of challenges, that gets to come with that. At the moment, we've had a lot of cases of unemployment around the region, considering you find that more than two-thirds of the population, around Kenya and Africa at large is young people. So definitely there are cases of, employment that get to come up because everyone is, just trying to get an opportunity to, make something for themselves or trying to make an impact in the society. So there's a lot of that, and people are also trying to seek, a lot of support from the government because they're like, yo, we need you guys to support us. We just need that sense of support for us to be able to support ourselves. So yes, definitely there's all that, challenges that do come up. But the beauty of it all, we do realize that we've only got us. So
Mm,
it's a lot of, we need to come together, we need to work together, find a way for things to work out. Because yeah, we also need to make the situation better for ourselves, and we only have us. So it's a
wow.
lot of that at the moment. Yeah, and
Wow.
people just trying to make impact from wherever they are, and progressively, get to create a ripple effect, and it spreads out and out. It becomes a ripple effect. Yeah,
Mm. Man,
yeah,
I had when we did the presentation with the kids, I asked them, I said, hey, because here they identify a lot of the challenges that we have in communities in America. And a lot of them express things like we have a big drug issue. A lot of
yeah.
them express gun violence is huge here. And
Uh,
I think matter of fact, we had a conversation with a school system. We were looking at statistics. And
yeah.
since 2019, there have been almost a little less than 200 kids who were shot, um, public school kids, which in America that's a lot. That's a lot. And so they've
It's,
expressed the things that they see, man, and the challenges. And they were just saying, look, what we can do about it is we don't know. But what they said was we're all not coming together. And so you
mm,
just see the difference.
yeah,
That's the biggest
yeah,
difference. Yeah. Is
yeah.
that's our
Because I think
biggest challenge. Yeah, go ahead.
people need to work together.
Hmm.
It's like a chain. It's like a chain, and the chain is as strong as its weakest point. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
everyone gets to play their part.
Yes. And that's what we're trying to get to, man. So you have to continue to teach, man. This is why I think it's vitally important that I'm able to, in some capacity, share your voice and a piece of Kenya and other places in Africa with the world, man, because if we don't hear about it, how will we be able to create these solutions and move
It's indeed.
forward? Yes. Well, Wango, man, I wanted to just do. I told you it was a quick update, and I wanted to just check in. Anything else that you have going on in your world, man? I want people to continue to possibly get connected to whether it's stuff you're putting on social media, whether it's projects. I know you were doing filming and art, and so what's happening in your world, man? What do you have going on?
Well, it's been great. Been working on a couple of interesting projects since you were here. At least in regards to photography, I've been covering a couple of projects with a cycling team around Kenya. So they've been, in different competitions. So I got to document some of their races, which has been amazing. Getting to link up with the new community. In regards to my drawing of late, I'm also working on a project where ideally it's a program where this organization is trying to create a program to train people living with disability and trying just to equip them with um, life skills. Then later on, they can decide whether they want to venture into entrepreneurship or get into employment. So it's been amazing getting to be part of that as an illustrator, because we come in where some of the information that they're being taught, we get to break it down in terms of making it into visual material, where some of those with intellectual disability can get to understand, what's being taught, because you have people with condition like Down syndrome, autism, dyslexia. So it's been amazing where you get to come in and try to break down some of this information into simple illustrations in real time while sitting with them, getting to learn their behavior, their patterns, how they get to interact with this information and making it very palatable for them. So that's been the project I'm currently working on. We're still pushing Karibu Nairobi. We could be launching new merchandise in the next month, trying to launch our website as well, curating more tours and experiences around Nairobi, us, exploring more neighborhoods and trying to take people to all these different places and get to teach them the beauty of Nairobi, ideally through the art, history, and culture. So yeah, man, that's what we're working on. There's also the workshop that I had sent you a while back. We are trying to
Yes.
do a workshop for creatives around Nairobi, creating a program where creative entrepreneurs can come and learn different aspects of maneuvering the industry. We are getting to highlight topics around legal matters, taxation, investment, mental health, social
Mm.
media marketing. So, we just want the creative space to feel as if, yes, it's a venture that you can actually come in and build a life for yourself. So that's what you're trying to do. All of it, it's all about community. Community is what, tends to push us out here. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Good, good. Well, Wango, I'm speaking it into existence. I fully desire, I don't know what this is. This is our second time doing this, but I truly desire to, at some point, I want to bring like 10 kids
Yeah,
to
man.
Kenya. And I've been trying to write it down. I've been speaking it into existence. I've been praying on it, but I
Yeah.
really desire to bring young black men over who get to see their history, who
Yeah.
get to see what's really on the other side of that
Yeah.
wall. And
Yes, indeed.
so we gonna have to figure out. We just gonna have to keep talking. I'm gonna keep hitting you up, man, because
Uh,
something's brewing, and I want to see
yes.
what kind of intersects in terms of our ideas and creativity and things that we can think of, man. So I desire to do some sort of partnership, whether it's you coming here, XYZ, whatever it is, we'll
Yes.
have to figure that out.
Yeah, one way or another, I know things will definitely align.
Yes, yes. Well, man, I greatly appreciate you for taking the time. If anybody doesn't know, there's a 6 hour time difference. So we were trying to work stuff out. He's doing this after a long days of hard work. And look at me. It's a little early in the day for me. So, but
Yeah.
but man, I appreciate you, Wango, and please, man, let's don't hesitate. You guys need anything, we need to talk more, figure some things out, let me know. And I look forward to connecting, continuing to connect, man, whenever we can.
Yeah, man, I'm also really grateful for you having me. It's, we've been planning, but, I'm grateful that, we've definitely got to catch up, see what's happening on your end, see what's happening on my end. But all in all, I'm grateful to see that, we are both, kicking it and still, pushing here we call it the wheel of life. We are
Man,
constantly pushing it.
that's it. That's all we can do. So I'll keep people updated. I'm sure they'll be excited to hear from you. But Hub family, thanks again for tuning in to this special edition of the Hub, All Things for Us. Please, I'm gonna put social platforms up. I'm gonna put websites up. Please follow this brother and find ways to support And if you ever decide to take a trip, this is the person I'm highly recommending you get in contact with. All
Appreciate
right,
you,
family.
bro.
Thank you. All right. All right.